Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Garrett Horner. This is stage 7 of the Giro d'Italia 2024. Today is the individual time trial, and it's brought to you by Bicycle, the largest global marketplace for pre-owned bikes. With over 20,000 pre-owned and refurbished bikes available, Bicycle connects the buyers and sellers to make the process of buying and selling bikes safe, easy, and convenient. Now let's get into today's stage, because at the individual time trial here of a length of 40.6 kilometers, just about 27 miles in total, we know it's going to be a big-time GC battle between Tadej Pogačar, Geraint Thomas, maybe Bora Hansgrohe in there might get something with Danny Martinez. He's gone good a couple years back at Algarve, where he won the general classification, and he had a solid time trial in Algarve. But can he perform here in Italy? Well, we don't know yet, but we do know Filippo Ganna's here. He's Italian. We do know Filippo Ganna's won time trials left and right through the Giro d'Italia in years past, so we expect big-time showings from the Giro d'Italia past winner of individual time trials. Now, before we get into today's stage, I want to cover a little bit, because I saw some comments asking, hey Chris, can you describe what you mean by the #1 rule, and why wouldn't that be breaking the #1 rule on the butterfly effect if Geraint Thomas sent some Ineos riders up there? Okay, let's discuss the #1 rule again, because it's complicated. Remember, all the rules can be broken, but you need to know when to break them. And if you don't know when to break them, then just ride safe back there if you're Ineos, but sit behind Tadej Pogačar and UAE team members. Don't pull the front. But why did I say they should send guys up the road? Well, you want to send guys up the road in the break because you get a shot of winning yesterday's stage 6 if you can get someone in the break. If there's someone else that's not Ineos in there, but they're a threat on general classification, and Ineos have someone like a Magnus Sheffield in there that's not a threat on GC, maybe Magnus Sheffield can actually start pulling the brake hard and put some more pressure on UAE Team Emirates. Now, when don't you want to leave Geraint Thomas? Okay, let me take you guys back to the 2021 Tour de France when Sepp Kuss won the stage into Andorra. That stage, when Sepp Kuss was in that breakaway up the road, he had Wout up there with him, and he had Steven Kruijswijk up there with him, which means Jonas from Jumbo-Visma only had Mike Teunissen with him left in the group behind. That means if something had happened back there to Jonas, he would be in big-time problems, because once they started climbing and getting to the border there of Andorra, you know Mike Teunissen's not going to be there any further, and Jumbo-Visma were depleted riders. That were all the number of riders that they had left were 5, and 3 are in the front group, and they're all climbers. Even Wout's a climber, right? He helped Sepp win that stage, if you remember correctly, pulling into that last and final climb. Then Sepp led everyone up, and it was Valverde chasing him down the descent, but nobody was back there for Jonas. So the #1 rule in the butterfly effect would kind of apply there, where you don't leave him isolated on his own. But had they put just Sepp in the front move, just Wout in the front move, just Steven Kruijswijk in that front move, sure, I wouldn't have complained back there in 2021 on that stage that Sepp won if it was just him up there. But when you leave Jonas behind and he's sitting second on GC, so if we compare that to yesterday's stage of stage 6 here at the Giro d'Italia, if Geraint had sent a teammate up in the front trying to win the stage, I'm okay with that. If Tadej Pogačar had sent a rider up in that stage, it gets a little bit trickier because his team's not so strong. He had Domen Novak following some of the bigger moves up there, but of course he can pull him out. And I'm only okay with UAE team members putting a rider in the group if that rider like Domen Novak followed that move and it just naturally flowed that he had himself in that move. If he had followed 30 moves or something on the flat section before the climb started, I'd have called him a knucklehead. But he looked perfect, as I explained on yesterday's butterfly effect, perfect going into that 110 kilometers when the stage started going up. And to me, it looked like Domen Novak just followed the move gracefully, so you could always pull him out and he's not fatigued and tired from just following one move easily. Like I said, if he did 30, I would have called him a knucklehead. So it gets difficult and complicated. That's why I always say, if you don't know when to break the rules, don't break it. Because if you just sit behind UAE Team Emirates yesterday, that's not a bad plan if they're on the front the whole time. And we're just starting to get into the individual time trial here today and the big mountain tomorrow on stage 8 for Tadej Pogačar. So maybe you wear his team out. Instead, Ineos were riding the front for Tadej Pogačar, UAE team members, so I called them knuckleheads. I didn't like what they were doing. Geraint Thomas is 37, turning 38 here at the Giro d'Italia, and doesn't know how to run his team correctly of when to break rules and when not to break rules. That's why I'm not happy with the way they rode on yesterday's stage 6. All right, let's get in here to stage 7, because we got a new knucklehead. His name's Mikkel Bjerg. Bjerg's riding full gas. Okay, I can't cover everybody because they're showing from the whole start of the Giro d'Italia stage here, but I'm going to cover Mikkel Bjerg starting because he starts early and he's going full gas. He's catching riders left and right all over the place along the course because some of those riders know they can't win the individual time trial, so they're riding easy. It's not that one rider's doing this massive pull back there that's catching guys left and right who are trying to stay out there. It's that Mikkel Bjerg is a solid rider. I'd put him on my team every time, but I would never let Mikkel Bjerg do a knucklehead move like he's doing right here on stage 7, trying to blow up this individual time trial along with his legs and put himself in the hot seat. When he crosses the line, he does put himself in the hot seat, and he'll be sitting in there for not very long because we got the GC favorites coming after him, and Filippo Ganna left about halfway after we saw the times there of Mikkel Bjerg about halfway on the course. Well, Filippo Ganna was already on the course while Mikkel Bjerg's sitting in the hot seat. And you're like, Chris, I don't understand. Well, this is a stage that Mikkel Bjerg can save his form for. And if I take you back to the Tour de France again in 2022, Mikkel Bjerg was fantastic on the later mountain stage, the penultimate mountain stage, but then when we got on the Hautacam stage, his legs were blown up and Mikkel Bjerg was dropped 10 kilometers into that stage when Wout Van Aert was throwing in attacks left and right and lighting everyone up. Mikkel Bjerg was off the back of the peloton struggling big time. So when I'm watching him right here in the individual time trial sitting in the hot seat, I'm like, Mikkel Bjerg, that was a knucklehead move when I watch you coming out of the last turns here with 40.6 kilometers and your legs going 100% and your face has got the ugly face on there as you're coming across the line. I'm like, how good are you going to be later? I've already told you guys the only weakness that I see with UAE team members is their team, and Mikkel Bjerg has to be saving his energy because they brought a sprinter named Milano, so instead of 7 riders, they're really here 6 when they get into the mountains, and we know, as I've told you many times, that Rafael Majka is the only pure climber, and Domi Novak and Mikkel Bjerg, they have some bad days. At least Mikkel Bjerg and Domi Novak, he's really uncharted territory when we get deeper into these Grand Tours because he hasn't shown that he can go deep into a Grand Tour. He has shown recently, especially at LBL, that he's good, but he hasn't shown into the Grand Tours. So now let's go into some of the hot favorites because Filippo Ganna, as I said, he's out on course and he's flying back there catching guys left and right. As he's coming up to the two-door cycling rider here, we hear on Max that, wow, Filippo Ganna's flying by right here. Mayhofer like he's on a training ride. Well, he is on a training ride. Mayhofer's a sprinter, so that's why he's backed off the pedals, and that's why we see Filippo Ganna going full gas all the way up the last and final 6 kilometers here of the individual time trial. He's flying up the course, and as he comes into the finish line, he's 1 minute and 39 seconds up on the time of Mikkel Bjerg, the knucklehead of UAE Team Emirates. With that speed right there, Ganna's put himself into the hot seat with a time of 52 minutes and 1 second. Now, what's happening behind? Well, we got all the favorites getting ready to leave the ramp, and we're going to see Esteban Chavez. Lusenko's going off the ramp. Lopez is next. Fortunato's leaving. And then we're going to see Kian Uterberg from Visma bike. But who do we really want to see? We want to see Geraint Thomas, and of course we want to see Tadej Pogačar. As they're meeting up in the pre-warm-up there, just in the tent before they go up to the ramp, we're going to see Tadej Pogačar give a little fist bump there to Geraint Thomas, and then he's going to hop on his bike and keep warming up his legs. While that's happening, Danny Martinez from Bora Hansgrohe's getting ready to leave the ramp, and he's going to be out there throwing down on the pedals as hard as he can. Once we look at Geraint Thomas leaving the ramp, we're going to see Tadej Pogačar, the race leader in the pink jersey, wearing 2 different colors, shorts and jerseys there, as the UCI has finally worked out their magic to allow Tadej Pogačar to wear the 2-tone colors. As Tadej Pogačar leaves the ramp, Geraint Thomas is up front. He's coming through the time check, but he's down 52 seconds there from the time of Filippo Ganna. Now it's time for the Slovenian Tadej Pogačar to come through the first check. He's down 44 seconds. At this moment, Rob Hatch has said Filippo Ganna is primed to win this individual time trial very easily. I'm like, whoa, Rob Hatch. That was only the first time check here in the individual time trial, and it's all flat. We're talking Tadej Pogačar. There's a 6-kilometer climb at the finish of the race. Okay, 1 kilometer is super hard at about 10%. The next kilometer is at about 6, and it ups and down and weaves left and right, and it climbs up again at 2 kilometers, and then it has a couple technical corners coming into the finish, so Tadej Pogačar has to be spectacular, but Tadej Pogačar is spectacular. Rob Hatch, you can't just throw him under the bus right now at the first time check. We see Danny Martinez, he's still hot on the pedals and doing a solid time. And then when we come into the second time check behind, well, Geraint Thomas is in big time trouble because he's got a time of 1 minute and 27 seconds back on Filippo Ganna. And the Slovenian Tadej Pogačar is coming through the second time check at 47 seconds. Now, G. Thomas is starting to hit the climb. He's in the saddle, out of the saddle, and looks like to me he's got to sit down to shift his bike because he put a 1x chainring on here, a 66-tooth 1x. That means the back cassette has to have multiple gears back there with big jumps between each gear. And I'm thinking, while I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, Geraint Thomas, what kind of gears did you bring? Because it looks like he's sitting, shifting, then standing up, then sitting, then shifting again, then standing back up. When we go back to Tadej Pogačar as he hits the climb, well, the Slovenian's throwing everything into it. Now, when we compare the times from the two time checks, one was 44 seconds, the next he's 47 seconds down. But between the two time checks, Tadej Pogačar only lost 3 seconds to Filippo Ganna. So how good can the Slovenian be up this climb? Well, we see the crowds are massive as Tadej Pogačar has gone through and Geraint Thomas has gone through. Now we're coming up to about 1.9 kilometers to go. Right where you see the cobblestone sidewalk there, the crossing of the street, that's Geraint Thomas, and he's down on time on Filippo Ganna. Now look up at Filippo Ganna in the hot seat. He's got some company up there, his little brother. That's Plapp. They're actually not teammates. I don't know what Plapp's doing up there, but you can see they're having a good time wearing their sunglasses. Then we see Danny Martinez is coming into the finish, and we know with his time that Filippo Ganna is getting a little comfortable up there, and we see Plapp look over at Filippo Ganna like, what do you think? Is this good? Then all of a sudden the time comes back down to Tadej Pogačar as he's crossing that same brick across the road. He's 40 seconds faster than Geraint Thomas, and now Filippo Ganna's holding up the hand saying, slow down Tadej Pogačar, and it looks like Plapp's getting a little bit worried. Well, we see Danny Martinez come through just over a minute and a half there from Filippo Ganna, so he can relax a little bit. Geraint Thomas comes through just under 2 minutes in 10th place. It's a solid time, but not a fantastic time for Geraint Thomas because he's going to drop from second on the general classification, and Danny Martinez is going to jump over him with his time. But what's the leader back there, Tadej Pogačar in the pink jersey, doing? Can he win the stage? Can he hold on to the race leader's jersey? Well, the race leader's jersey is going to hold on to for sure, but can he win the stage from Filippo Ganna? As Filippo Ganna is getting worried up there, we go back and look at Tadej Pogačar. He's flying around the bends. He's still got solid time there on Filippo Ganna, and Ganna knows at this point in time, along with his little brother Plapp, that the facial expression's all disappointment as Tadej Pogačar comes through the line and starts celebrating before he even crosses the line with a big fist bump in the air as Tadej Pogačar wins today's individual time trial by 17 seconds over Filippo Ganna and takes his second victory here at the Giro d'Italia in 2024. The Slovenian Tadej Pogačar was magnificent throughout this stage. Rob Hatch, you just can't throw him under the bus because he's 44 seconds down and we got a 6-kilometer climb because the Slovenian was amazing. Steadily did damage control between the first time check and the second time check and then lit everything up on the final 6 kilometers here to take a marvelous stage victory here at the individual time trial. Now, how exciting was the stage? Well, everybody on the top 10 general classification from second all the way back down to 10th, reshuffled all over the place with Geraint Thomas dropping 1 spot, Danny Martinez up to second. Like I already told you, the only guy who stayed in his spot, well, that was Tadej Pogačar, of course. When you look further back, though, Kian Ultebrix changed spots, Einar Rubio, Lorenzo Fortunato changed spots, Lopez and Jan Hertz all lost spots here. And then the big time makers, well, Lusenko moved up some and Ben O'Connor had a nice ride. So he did a solid individual time trial here to get himself up there into the top 10 in the general classification. And Plapp, the little brother there, the little brother there of Filippo Ganna holding up in the hot seat with him, he did a solid time to get himself all the way up to 5th on the general classification. Now, Geraint Thomas, in the interview, he was asked what happened throughout the stage. How'd you feel? Geraint Thomas said everything was going okay, but when he really needed to perform, he just didn't have it in the legs, more or less was his words. Then the journalist asked, regarding your teammates, Filippo Ganna, Magnus Sheffield, our Insman, all went good apart from you. Then Geraint Thomas looks over at the journalist and says, thanks. After that, this blank screen, we go over to the Max headquarters as Robbie McEwen and Adam Blythe are all in shock up there with Ola and they don't know what to say because the journalist, there must have been some kind of translation problem there over to Garrett Thomas, because basically he just slapped Garrett Thomas in the face, and Garrett Thomas calmly just looked at the journalist and said thanks, and that was it. Now make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you for stage 8, the first mountain stage here of the Giro d'Italia proper, as we have the summit finish. Can Tadej Pogačar keep his UAE team Emirates under control? Can he ride him grid? Well, like and subscribe. I'll let you guys know on tomorrow's Butterfly Effect for stage 8. See you real soon.